morning, afternoon, evening. Really, time is immaterial, but welcome to a Marvel Movie Talk special edition. It is our We Are Venom installment of the Marvel Movie Talk. I almost said the Black Cast, but it is on the Black Cast Entertainment Network. We are going to speak in very specific terms about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. So if you haven't seen it yet, you will have to run out and go and see it in a movie theater because it is the only way to see this movie. As always, I am Christian Blatt, joined by the one and only Jeff Williams Jr.
Yeah. How you doing? Hey, it's okay. You can get my name wrong. I've gotten it wrong on multiple certificates. It's the reason why I'm like late on getting my real estate license. It's a problem. It's
Oh
Jeffrey
yeah,
Williams Jr. It's Jeffrey Williams with the high with the two L's. I call it the two L's, but it's really just the Roman numerals. So
yeah.
it's just like it's an issue.
I'm
I
remembering you changed your cell phone number because you were going to get your real estate license. You still don't have it?
no, I'm not even able to take the test.
All right. Well, you got the new cell phone number, so that was a big step.
Exactly. Exactly. So that was worthless. I did that months in advance. But I'm not mad. I just haven't been on the phone on hold for an hour today trying to figure that out as well. But we digress. We're
We
going to
do
talk about Venom.
digress. We are going to talk about Venom, and I will mention one last time that we are going to talk about all the spoilers. We will have at least one familiar face joining us in a little bit. It's a little bit of a mixed bag. We have feelers out to a few people, so it's going to be sort of like the old Johnny Carson Tonight Show. All of a sudden, that curtain's going to open, and you never know who's going to walk in. You know, so it could be Don Rickles, it could be Bob Hope, but not likely since they are both dead. But in any case, Jeff, let's start with Venom 1, which is not this movie. Venom number
Yes.
1, which I believe came out in 2018. What did you think of the first Venom movie? I think that as I've talked to people about this movie, their thoughts on the first one are very important in understanding where they're able to go with the Venom film universe.
I thought the first movie was pretty fun. I didn't think it was bad in the sense that like people were expecting another Marvel movie. It wasn't that. It was Sony. It was a different superhero movie in the sense that it was a little bit darker. The comedy was there, but it didn't stick as much as we wanted. The action wasn't in the daytime. If you notice, for every time they're fighting, it's at night. It's a Sony problem. It's a DC problem. Every superhero movie that's at night for some reason is not received well. And I mean that's just one factor that just that's common throughout. But either way, I wasn't a fan, obviously, as you can tell. But I'm talking of two.
Yeah, yeah, but the first one it was all
The
right.
first one
Yeah,
was the first one was all right. It was good for what it was. Like it was like one of those popcorn films. Like I would call it on the same scale as like how I enjoyed Fast and the Furious. Like you go
sure.
for what you know what you're getting when you go in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the strengths of the first one were definitely starting with Tom Hardy. I think that in even in the first one, I thought he gave some layers to Eddie Brock, and and it's not the story we know of Eddie Brock, from the comics or even from Spider-Man 3 when Eddie Brock was portrayed by the great Topher Grace. And the not having the Spider-Man connection, they had to kind of reinvent his backstory a little bit, and I thought they did a decent job. I thought he was good. I thought Michelle Williams was good in the first one, because they actually gave her some stuff to do. And it is definitely, I'm not someone that watches the Fast and Furious movies, but I do watch a lot of sort of summertime big budget
Popcorn.
popcorn movies, and I think that the first Venom was definitely that. And I had fun with it. I was doing one of several Marvel shows. I believe I was doing Marvel TV Weekly for AfterBuzz at the time, and we talked about it. Zia and I both liked it. A lot of people did not, and then there was a lot of it where, like, even people who didn't love it, they were able to pull away things. I think in general, people liked Tom Hardy.
Hmm.
I think the Venom persona in both movies is very funny. I think their interaction, is they mine it for a lot, especially in the second one. But anybody that I've talked to that either one hated the first one or didn't see the first one, I'm like, you should probably hold off on this one. If you hated the first one, this isn't going to win you over. And then I feel like if you start with this one, you'll be like, what is this movie anyway? Why am I here? And what am I doing? So I know that you, Jeff, have been very upfront. For anybody who follows you at Jeff Will Jr., they know that I believe you actually posited the question: was Venom 2 better than New Mutants? Or no, was New Mutants better than Venom 2? I contend no, it wasn't. But you also have to take into consideration that New Mutants had a dragon in it. And when we did our Shang-Chi episode, you're on the record of talking dragons.
Yeah, but it wasn't a water dragon, in my defense. In Shang-Chi, let me get it correct, we had a water dragon. Like, you can't really redeem yourself in that factor. This is not Avatar. So I mean, but like, let me not just be disrespectful. I mean, it is what it is. I didn't like the water dragon. And I just thought for the second movie, it felt like it had elements of a first solo film, in the fact that Eddie Brock was still learning how to deal with Venom throughout the first half of the film. We did that in the first movie. We don't need to learn that in the second movie. That should already be established. So him having those issues, yes, it's funny, but it's not moving the story along. And then if we want to dive deeper into why I had issues with the movie, the villain was not believable at all to me.
So
Like
you're talking
how
about
how
Carnage? Are you talking
Carnage, yeah,
about Cletus Cassidy, Woody Harrelson? Is it
yeah.
individually they didn't work? Both of them, what was it that didn't
So
work?
Woody Harrelson's portrayal of Carnage of his of
Yeah, Cletus
forgot what,
Cassidy
yeah, of
is
Cletus
him in
Cassidy.
his
It
regular
was
form.
unless
Now, what?
I don't know the comics that well. Unless he's
Sure.
like over the top and very like animated, it just didn't seem like a good portrayal. Like, I didn't like that as a villain to Venom. Like, it just seemed like he was just very cheesy as a bad guy. And like his wife or girlfriend, like the girl he was trying to get, was way more serious. Like, in like, they were both mad or angry, but like, he just it seemed like he was acting mad and she was mad.
Yeah, I think that it is definitely a crazy, over the top portrayal. I think that as written and as directed, I think that it was fun to watch Woody Harrelson. It was a choice, I think, that I don't believe was necessarily he was like, "Can I play this crazier?" I feel like that's probably what they wanted. I think that they have some good interactions throughout the course of the when he's still Cletus Cassidy. There is some good character stuff that we get out of Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock in this movie. And I think that their non-symbiote, non-fighting interactions, I think, are actually pretty well done because, it's a little bit more Hannibal Lecter. I mean, it's clearly the vibe that pretty much anything goes for with their serial killers these days in the
Yeah,
last 30 years. But I think that it gets amped up, and that's where it turns comic booky. And it's, to me, the good aspect of it is that it's reminiscent of the Sam Raimi Green Goblin. It's sort of like, okay, so this is a guy who's just lost it, and he was already a serial killer. So he was he was already mental.
yeah,
And but I think that there were definitely a few times during the movie where you just kind of shrug, where you're like, all right, they are going all in on this. The screening that I went to, there were a few people who were laughing at times that weren't supposed to be funny. There was plenty of laughter at things that were supposed to be funny,
yeah,
but there were definitely other times where it was just like, oh, come on. But I think that I think that for me, a lot of it was fun. I think that poor Michelle Williams whatever contract she had for the first one, she clearly had to be in this. They didn't give her much to do. I was glad that she at least merged with Venom at one point, so she got something interesting. It wasn't for
Yep.
very long. I thought that when that happened in the first one, that was a lot better. But I felt like she was misused. But the casting that I just couldn't get over was the police detective. I don't know anything about that actor. And if our pal Kate was here, maybe she'd worked on something with him, and maybe she'd tell me he's
Yep.
a great guy. He was distractingly bad. I had trouble with any scene he was in because I'm just like, this guy doesn't belong in a movie. You
Yeah.
know,
I'm
uh,
trying.
this guy belongs in Cinemax softcore porn. Not that I watch it, but that's what I would have expected him. I'm sorry. What were you going to say, Jeff?
No, I was like, I was trying to pull up like the casting for it because I was trying to figure out who he is. But that's definitely something Kate would know, and then we'd be like, oh yeah, so he's a horrible actor. I'm sure he's a horrible person, and to just talk more crap about him. Like, no, actually, he's my best friend. He comes over every Sunday, so that's perfect.
Yeah, no, yeah, he volunteers at a soup kitchen, 4 days a week. He goes after work. He's actually, I don't say this about many people, but he's a saint. And then, we'll kind of when we talk about sort of the way that this film teases future things, this character clearly is going to be around, and you're like, oh, really? Like, out of everybody from this movie, he's who we need
Hmm.
more of.
Yep.
Is that really what we need? But what can you isolate for things that you're like, okay, this worked better than some other things? Stuff that I don't even want to put the word highlight into your mouth because I feel like you don't feel that there were highlights
Yeah.
to Venom 2. But what stood out as stuff that worked better than others?
I liked how Carnage versus Venom looked. Like visually, the special effects, I thought that was really cool. Everything else, I wasn't really there for. Like, we'll get to the tease at the end. I think that was way overhyped, to be 100% honest with you. But yeah, the only thing that like stood out for me was the action scene. So when Venom was fighting Carnage, and then I can't think of what
Her character's name,
her
the so
character's name
the
is.
established character is Siren, I think.
Siren. I
I
really I
believe.
really like how
Actually,
they've
no,
used.
that's Banshee's. That's Banshee's daughter. I think
Oh,
Shriek is her name. Sorry,
okay.
as soon as I said it, I knew I was wrong. Yeah. So so she's Shriek. Cleverly enough. Yes.
I liked how she used her powers. I thought that was visually cool as well. We've seen a little bit in Arrow with some of them using their powers with I'm blanking on names, but either way, we've seen powers where they're making like echo noise with their mouths and stuff. But the way she was able to use it in fighting, I thought it was really cool cinematically. Those are the two highlights for me.
Yeah, I do agree that the strongest stuff, and it is definitely the ultimate suspension of disbelief stuff. But like the fight between Venom and Carnage in the church, it looked
Hmm.
cool. There's definitely stuff you're like, I don't think that makes sense. I don't think that would happen. And any time where they're using characters falling and one falling faster than the other, that happened in Black Widow. I mean, it happens in a lot of movies. Is the point.
Yeah,
But just in terms of like the visual, the spectacle of it, I think it looked great. I think a lot of that stuff looked cool. The visuals for Carnage in general, I think, look cool. And Venom, it's more the same.
hmm,
I think that they had established that what that was going to look like, and then we're actually getting Carnage. I could have used a little bit more of the Carnage character. The
hmm,
idea that he he said something about like that he was if Shriek shrieks again, he's gonna, I don't know, rip her face off or something. We didn't really get much from him. The Venom talks like almost nonstop.
yeah.
Carnage did not talk nearly as much, so we didn't really get a sense for that character. But
They
maybe that's just because it was more about Woody.
Yeah, as I was gonna say, they gave more screen. I wouldn't even say character development. They gave more screen time to Woody. He didn't need it. He they should have gave it to Carnage just so they can like kind of create that character, create that rift that he was mentioning, because they mention it a little bit, but we don't really see it. Why is like he not mad? He's not really mad, but like he obviously doesn't like the Shriek.
Yeah.
What happens when he goes against the Shriek, especially with their relationship? Like there should be more. If you don't like your love interest's powers, like there should be more, and there wasn't. So that was just another issue that we can tack on to the list.
Yeah, no, I think so. And there's definitely plenty of attention being paid to Woody Harrelson's wig, but I have to point out that the wig that he had in the end of the first Venom was so much worse than this. I mean, that thing was insane. So
Mm,
this was like, a William Shatner level wig,
yep.
so it was just like, all right, this is all right. Like, yeah, it's like in The Sopranos when Steven Van Zandt has that ridiculous thing on his head. You're like, all right, it's fine. It's like not as distracting as that would have
Yep.
been. So, I almost look at Woody's wig as the Sonic the Hedgehog movie where they had to, re CGI Sonic because everybody's like, I do not want to watch a movie where he looks like this. So
I love
people reacted so badly to Woody's wig and the tease from the end of the first Venom that they were like, all right, let's dial it down a little bit, just a little.
I love how they
What were you gonna say,
changed
Jake?
like the whole, not like the whole movie, but probably the whole movie. Like after the first tease, they were like, "Yeah, we're changing that whole look because it got that bad
You're talking about
for
Sonic?
Sonic." Yeah,
Yeah. No, I
when
know.
you
I mean,
mentioned that,
they delayed that movie by months, and it just squeaked in before the pandemic. If they needed a little bit more time, that movie still might not have come out. So yeah. But in any case, I think that it's it is very comic booky in a lot of ways, and not to say that something that is exquisitely well done. It's not like Avengers Endgame is not comic booky. It's not like,
yeah,
to me, X-Men 2 is one of the is the best in that series for me. Days of Future Past is another one. They're all comic booky, but this is sort of really, I mean, the source material of Venom and Carnage, it was all sort of this like early 90s era of, I'm going to say, style more than substance. The Todd
oh yeah,
McFarlane style of Spider-Man looked amazing. Venom looked so cool, but it was mostly about what they looked like. A lot of those creators who went on to create Image Comics had tremendous success, but their time at Marvel, it was definitely, him and Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee. I think Jim Lee had the most substance because of who he was paired up with, obviously. But I think that in terms of fights between Venom and Carnage, this was kind of what you were going to get no matter what. And I think that this is the problem that Sony runs into, is because they're not MCU movies, but now they're in partnership with Marvel Studios. They're somehow a part of it, and people, I think, expect, they've definitely been spoiled by the MCU movies,
mm-hmm.
and they're like, well, wait, why is this not like that? And I mean, poor Morbius, which got punted to next year, was supposed to have come out before this, and they're like, man, we do not know what to do with this, because I think if anybody thinks that Morbius is going to be is going to be the superhero Citizen Kane, they have another thing coming.
It's not gonna be great.
No, it's not. And I think that it's going to be very character driven. And, the last time that Jared Leto was character driven in a superhero movie, people were not happy. So I think it'll be interesting to sort of see where that goes and, where we get from there. But in any case, I think that it's, to me, it was fun. It was definitely ridiculous. It was over the top. It was loud. It's funny. I just like an hour ago, I got a text from a friend of mine who I guess saw it, I think last night. But my friend is a huge fan of horror movies. Like, quality is usually optional for him. So he
Mm-hmm.
texted me that he loved Venom. And I'm like, all right, I mean, I didn't say all that. I never said I loved it. I was just like, oh, I had fun with it, and at
That's
no
wild.
time do I ever say Venom 2 is a good movie. I don't use those words. I'm not
Yeah,
all about
not in the
labels
same
like that.
sentence.
No,
Yeah,
but I had fun with it. But it is definitely one of those movies where everything you say, I'm like, I mean, first of all, I wouldn't try to talk you out of your opinion anyway, but I'm like, I don't have a counterpoint to anything that you say, because I'm like, yeah, it's all stuff I noticed, but I'm like, yeah, this is all right, and I think the cartoony aspect of it is something that, it's like, do you like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin? You're probably going to like the Venom movies. Do you like the Joel
Yeah.
Schumacher Batman movies as opposed to Tim Burton or Christopher Nolan?
I mean, but I think there's a way to mix the serious and the comic booky, and I
Yeah,
think Marvel
absolutely.
does it. We watched WandaVision go through the ages and watch them in like a sitcom and stuff, but we knew the seriousness of it. We knew the repercussions. We knew the backstory. There was character development. There's never been character development in there wasn't character development in the second Venom movie. That's what a lot of the problems were on my end were from Batman versus Superman, not just going straight to DC. But like for a
Yeah.
lot of like superhero movies, when they don't like it, it's because of character development and they're going more towards just the fireworks and explosions and stuff. But most movie with the high stakes, we know so much about them. They
Yeah.
either do a lot of character development or they don't have to because they've done it.
Yeah, no, I mean the reason that the Avengers works is because the main characters had all gotten their own movie. And we had gotten to see that, and we cared about them. And then there was, Hawkeye and Black Widow, who we've seen
Mm-hmm.
enough, it was not really Hawkeye. It was mostly Black Widow. They felt like we knew her well enough from the movies she had been in. But yeah, you do have to put that in there. And I think with Eddie Brock in this movie, we got to know him enough in the first movie that I really feel like they gave Tom Hardy some better character development stuff to do. A lot of it was in the interactions with Cletus Cassidy, because I did compare him to Hannibal Lecter, but he had that quality that he could just tell things about Eddie by talking to him, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and some of it was stuff that he was able to look up and find out. But in terms of just guessing things about his character, he was right. And I think, Tom Hardy's a phenomenal actor. You don't have to think this is a phenomenal movie, but it's one of those things where he was able to get he squeezed every drop of depth he could out of this movie. It's the example that I always use is, if you see the notoriously horrific Star Wars holiday special from 1978. I mean, that thing is painful at every turn, except Harrison Ford is amazing in it. You still believe that he's Han Solo, no matter how hokey the thing is, no matter
Yeah.
how bad the dialogue is. You're like, yeah, but that's Han Solo. Mark Hamill don't even look like himself. Carrie Fisher sings, but I'll be damned if Han Solo isn't Han Solo in that movie or TV show,
Yeah.
And I think that if you can bring that kind of presence to something, this is a very marginal sort of movie for me. I definitely had fun with it. I have been very careful in how I recommend it to people that I think might like it, because you don't want people judging you like, wait, you thought I was gonna like that, you know?
My
But go ahead, Jeff.
my thing is like when the majority of people promote the movie by saying, "Yo," and it teases.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. When we talk about that,
So
it's like,
so
oh, that end
the
credit
movie
scene.
that yeah the end credit scene is crazy. Okay, but how was the movie?
Yeah.
And then you watch the end credit scene, is like, all right, so where's the craziness? For me, it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't I didn't
right
get it.
on
The
But
cue,
craziness is right here.
that
yes,
is the most that that is the most Lenny and Squiggy intro we've ever had on this show. But where's the craziness? Hello.
Right here.
did you
Uh,
call? You
so
rang.
joining us now is Eric Connor, Count Eric Connor, and for our visual friends, our visual audience, he's on screen as Venmo at Count Eric Connor. So
That's
thank
the
you for
real
that.
villain of this movie.
So Jeff, with Eric just jumping in now, I want you to just give him a quick overview of your thoughts on Venom 2, Electric Boogaloo, or as they call it, Let There Be Carnage.
Well, the TLDR is that I spent $22 that I shouldn't have to go watch it in the Chinese theater.
All right, but that's again, that's your fault for not
Yes.
writing to Sony. I gave you the address to write to Sony to go to the press screening I went to.
100% right. This is all
Why
on
are
me.
you shaming him?
No,
well, because he could have kept those $22.
You're right. But like, I went to a Chinese theater. It was not good. It was not a good movie. It was like Venom 1 Part 5. He still had the same character traits. There was no character development in him and Venom that went from Part 1 to Part 1.5. There was just, it wasn't a lot for me. The only highlights for me, and we didn't want to use the words highlights earlier, but the only midlights for me were the ending fight in the church scene, and then seeing, I already dropped her name again, and it's not Sith. What is her name?
Shriek. Sorry,
Shriek. Seeing Shriek, her powers were cool to see on the big screen.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't even say the end credit scene was
no, which we haven't. We've been waiting for Eric. We'll talk about that in and of itself.
So, what's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are that it was fun, and it is, of course, flawed in many ways, but I thought it was big, loud, fun superhero action. And I talked a little bit earlier about the source material of Venom and Carnage in the comics. It's always going to be kind of crazy, and it's not it's not God Loves Man Kills. It's not the death of Gwen Stacy. It's not it's not Craven's Last Hunt. That's probably the example I was looking for. It's not really deep, but I was impressed how Tom Hardy was able to give us depth to Eddie Brock in, an otherwise, average movie with a lot of fun along the way. And personally, I really liked Woody Harrelson because it was so over the top and so crazy. And I mean, it was just big and loud. And it was like, they would do a take and it was probably so crazy. And the director was Andy Serkis, who was the director, was probably like, yeah, I want bigger. Give us a little more, don't hold back this time, Woody.
Or was
what do you think about?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you think about actors that are also directors? Just saying, just throwing it out there. That might be the part of the issue.
When they direct themselves, it is usually not particularly well done. I'm not necessarily a fan. I think it can work. I think Andy Serkis, I don't know. It's almost like, I'd like him to direct a more normal movie, and then I can get a better sense. I don't see much of this movie being flaws on his part. I mean, I think when you're dealing with Venom, and especially when you're adding Carnage into the mix, this is mostly going to be what that recipe gives you. But so we're just sort of recapping. Eric, just give us. We both started with the first Venom. Take a quick minute, your thoughts on the first Venom, and then parlay that into your thoughts on Venom 2, Book of Shadows.
Venomer, actually, I think would be based off Die Harder, which I think every great sequel, you should be able to add ER to the first movie.
Next Friday.
Right. Godfather. But, first Venom, I know it's funny, I realized I don't remember who the villain was in that. I know it was Riz Ahmed, but I don't remember what there's a humongous hole in my memory. I remember so much random shit from movies.
Sure.
And yet Venom 1 left almost no footprint. Except
I mean, it was like Venom's race, and there were other symbiotes, and it was really honestly, the real villain was all of us. We'll be right back. No, the real villain was Big Pharma, basically.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's really what it was, though. So
it was it was all Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo. That was the real villain of it. Only that product, not the company, just that product.
Just that product. Yeah. Obviously, Johnson & Johnson have many fine products.
Right. Yeah. They're a sponsor here. Oh shit. So Venom 1 left nothing for me. I was not thrilled to see this, but My son was thrilled, so I'm like, all right, well, we'll go, and we saw it.
And for our sake, how old is your son? You didn't bring both of them. You just brought the older one.
I brought the the 10-year-old, which I wouldn't. I mean, considering what I saw at 10, this is kind of mild,
Well, that's kind
honestly.
of what
But
I thought. The press screening I went to, I sat with our pal Roxy Strider from AfterBuzz, and there was a kid behind us who was probably like 10, and she was like, "Should he be here?" And I'm like, "Well, it's PG-13." And like you said, Eric, oh yeah, I saw much worse. I mean,
oh my god, yeah. I mean,
I mean, RoboCop is a perfect example of a movie that is worse for kids to see. And I was 11 when RoboCop came out.
and that thing is, yeah. You look at
Yeah,
that now, that thing is bloody.
yeah.
So I took my 13-year-old, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I don't know where I fall quite on the scale of Jeff and Christian in terms of how much, or I
You have
definitely
to
like it
pick a
more than Jeff.
side.
I liked it more than Jeff,
Yeah. Okay,
but
that's
I
fair.
don't know if I liked it as much as you.
Yeah.
Something in the middle.
Well, yeah, that's
Christian is
fair.
Team Venom.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. And
I want a spin off of just the woman at the convenience store. Was it Mrs. Chang? I think
Oh
I
yeah.
did. Yeah, I think Mrs. Chang should definitely get it at
when
the
she
very
was Venom,
least.
I'm like, yes,
Yeah,
that's the movie.
that's the movie. Yeah,
Give me a limited series of that shit.
I was gonna say, give us 6 episodes of that.
Right,
Each
right,
episode 33 minutes, but
right.
that's fine.
You
Uh,
know, it's funny though. You said the word big, and one thing I kind of felt when I was watching this, it felt weirdly small. Hear me out for a sec, because there's so many moments of just sort of the two of them together alone, not in necessarily big spaces, and so that end scene, I thought, they it was still manageable, and that's actually one thing I kind of liked about it. Weirdly enough, was it didn't try to do too much. I mean, that's I was talking recently about like Ant-Man, and one of the things that makes Ant-Man kind of refreshing in the MCU is that it's not about saving the entire universe. And so there was something kind of, I don't know, weirdly 90s style charming about this feeling kind of small scale, to me. And a lot of it, I mean, Tom Hardy's, I enjoyed Tom Hardy more in this than the last one. I think the trailer didn't do him much service because it just played the broader moments, but I enjoyed Tom Hardy in this more. I thought when Venom left him, I actually enjoyed that sequence. When he's sort of like, me and my buddy got broken up. I thought that was
yeah,
really that worked for
yeah.
me.
No. I think that really turning into the bromance aspect. And look, I mean, and honestly, that probably wasn't even the craziest rave happening in San Francisco on that night. I think that, but that was
Yeah,
actually a fun sequence to watch. Sort of getting the emotional Venom. I mean, the comic book Venom, sort of the later version, the more modern version, he is a little bit more well-rounded. I mean, the early Todd McFarlane era Venom was basically, just trying to, eat brains and all that. So I did like getting that. But yeah, that was what I thought that I was, what the way that I've like tried to not spoil the movie by telling people is that if you liked Tom Hardy in the first one, he really does bring more depth to the character in this. And I think that helps.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, and look, we were saying before that in general, people are spoiled by just how good the MCU is. And even though there,
right.
you get to see an association with Marvel at the beginning, you really have to remember that these are not Marvel movies. I mean, Spider-Man Far From Home, also not a Marvel movie. Homecoming, also not a Marvel movie, but they incorporate those elements, and I think that the care was taken. I don't think that they worry so much about these. So, we talked about, for me, the weakest bit of casting was the police officer, and then of course we have at the end
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
very clearly, we see his eyes, so he would come back in a potential Venom 3 as a character named Toxin. And I was just like, what I told Jeff, I was just like, out of everything in this movie, that's what we need more of, is this cop. He's the guy that we need to see more of. And so, I think that Jeff, if that movie does come out and this guy is a major factor in it, are you going to save the $22 and just be like, no, I've already done 2 Venom movies. I can't put myself through a third one.
Look, I'm only gonna go because we know Tom Holland is gonna be in the next one.
Well,
But
we'll talk. We'll talk about
but
how
yeah,
that.
but yeah,
By the way,
I feel
Tom
you.
Holland
I didn't
might
want to.
not. Tom Holland might not be in a Venom movie. Venom might be in something else, which we'll talk about in a
Yeah,
moment.
sure.
But
But
yeah,
only reason I brought that up is because he would save the movie. I feel like
Yeah.
the cop would play the same bad role Jamie Foxx did in the second Spider-Man or second
amazing.
Spider-Man,
Second
yeah, as
amazing
the amazing
Spider-Man.
second
Yeah.
amazing Spider-Man
Well, it's
film.
hard because we
And
have 3 second Spider-Man movies.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but like in the fact that like it was just a bad character, like it was underdeveloped, it was corny. It was just like, why'd you pick him? And that's how I felt about the same security guy and our police officer. So I'm like, I don't know why you kept it, why you kept him. It'll be interesting if they keep the same character. Or if they go along with the storyline, they might just like see how people feel about it and then move away from the storyline.
I felt that I felt like the book had closed on him, and when it reopened at the end, I was like, oh, come on. You know, I'm trying to stay with you guys. You know, I'm trying to be supportive here. I'm even gonna go see Morbius. All right, that's how supportive I am. All right, I'm gonna try and get into it.
But would you pay? Would you borrow $22 from Jeff to go see Morbius?
No, I would go to AMC $5 Tuesdays. I think I would wait till after the weekend. I'd spend $5 though to see it, but I'll beg my way onto that press screening too. And look, do you think that they're gonna keep a tight rein on invitations to the Morbius press screening? I don't think so. You know,
I think they're gonna hand out tickets. They're gonna put them in cereal boxes basically to get people to go.
See, I thought I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking they'd be like, no, we cannot have people know about this until it comes out. We need to have the surprise of it being bad.
I mean,
last second.
That's the surprise.
Like, oh my god!
Isn't that the given that Morbius is probably a terrible film?
But Jared Leto comes with like a decent amount of fans, and then like, okay, we like Jared Leto because he does do some good acting in like normal films.
He's phenomenal in My So-Called Life.
Is every superhero film is like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why? Why did you make these decisions? But also, like, we didn't get the David Ayers. Like, I mean, or not. He's not in that movie, is he? He's in Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad is the one that he's in. But there's no cut where that Joker is going to be good. Although
I was trying to redeem him.
I did. Honestly, when I saw that the first Suicide Squad movie, when it was over, I was like, yeah, I could have just had a whole Joker and Batman, the sequence from the beginning. I'm like, if that had been the whole movie, that would have been better. But that doesn't necessarily mean good. So Eric, what did your son think? And were there moments where you're like, I know this is PG-13, but maybe it's a little bit more of a PG-15?
He was fine with it. I think I do like the final line. One of the final lines was like, "Fuck this guy." Sorry, F this guy. And
no, you can.
Oh no, this is rated R now.
Yeah, I know. Right.
I took off the cap of the toothpaste, so we can't get that.
Yeah, now we have to put that 2 Live Crew parental advisory explicit lyrics.
Right.
over
my entire box, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I thought that was kind of funny that he's like, F this guy, and he like bit his head off, and that's the end. It didn't feel too much. I mean, compared to, even okay, I love Dark Knight, but I mean, I'm sorry, like why so serious? And he cuts the guy's mouth. That is more troubling than anything in this movie. But that movie is art, and this movie is, kind of junky, which actually makes it, and so, weirdly enough, more okay. Because there's no kind of pathos to it. There's no, you're not left there lingering and shivering afterwards, because it's sort of like, I don't know, it's like Jolt Cola, it's just the high goes very quick. So I read.
You're speaking my language if you're talking about Jolt Cola, by the way.
Always.
So thank you. Yeah. I think that it's I was just sort of wondering like how an actual child would take to this. I think that,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
you're right. The
yeah,
Dark Knight is it has so much worse stuff in there
by far.
that yeah, I think that there you're right. There probably isn't that much to worry about
He's okay.
really throughout the course. And now we'll make sure that everybody sees this. Okay, that for our visual listeners, our visual audience, uh, Eric, you did this to us. You made us have to put this up. And
We've now become a Two Live Crew album.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's the same joke I made. I said the Two Live Crew.
You said the Two Live Crew. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
all right, come on. I mean, you could have said Andrew Dice Clay. I mean, there's so many other ways to have gone.
I was gonna say it also. What I was about to say NWA, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah.
NWA
Oh, yeah,
album
yeah.
as well.
But
In latter day Barry Manilow when he got really pissed off.
yeah, that's true. It was, yeah, you just didn't know. That's like it was such a weird choice of him to cover the fuck shop by Two Live Crew, but Barry brought his own presence to it. In any case, back on subject, and the subject being Venom 2. I think it is. I think we've talked enough about the movie in and of itself, and I think that there's a lot of mixed reaction to it out there. I think that there's fun to be found in it, but you can't really be mad at some, even though I enjoyed it. I was saying before, it's not like you can fault somebody who's like, yeah, I didn't really think that was very good. I'm like, no, it wasn't, but I had fun. The exact words I used right before you came on, Eric, is that I have never put since I saw it last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, I haven't put the words good and movie together when I talk about it. So I use the word fun a lot, which is like what I did for like after I saw Cowboys versus Aliens. I'm like, it was a lot of fun. Like, and then you're like, uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was it fun? It's funny. I'm thinking like, okay, there were fun moments, but is it a fun movie? I don't know. I mean, I wasn't bored. I mean, the movie goes kind of fast, like
Sure
mostly
weren't
because
bored?
they don't really have an act two. In terms
Yeah,
of
that's
the
fair.
Carnage battle, it's just sort of
Yeah.
Carnage breaks loose and then they fight. Like I thought there might be a series of right? Wasn't there just kind of like one Venom?
Yeah,
fight?
there was.
Which is
Yeah,
also
no,
a problem
I
with the
think you're
film.
right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it feels like I wonder if there's more. The director's cut will come out in like 7 years, and it would
Yeah,
only
and the
remind us
director's
how
cut will be an hour and 37 minutes instead of an hour and 34 minutes.
It was the
The director's
shortest
cut is
superhero
55
film
minutes.
that didn't feel short, in my opinion. Just saying.
I think that's one of the things that works in its favor. The same thing I said about New Mutants. At least it's 90 minutes.
Mhm.
The No Time to Die, latest James Bond movie, 2 hours and 45 minutes. Come on.
I'm about to use the restroom and get ready for that. Strap in.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't even seen a James Bond movie in so long, but I'm just ready because I'm excited. I know very little about it, and that's why I want to go into a movie like that. I haven't been into a movie a little and like that in a while because we talk about all these superhero movies and stuff all the time. So it's like, let me not go. That's also with Dune as well. I know very little, so I'm excited.
And
for
yet
that.
Eric knows everything about Dune because as he
You
told
watched it.
us, he saw it already. Yeah.
I witnessed it.
I'm so upset.
He lived it.
I'm
All
more
right.
spiteful
Oh yeah.
man at this
So
point.
yeah, he wants to show off some Funko Pop vinyl. Or yeah,
There it is.
well,
There
a
it
couple
is.
of those. You see those, Eric?
And I will show. I see your toy, and I raise you an original Secret Wars era Spider-Man.
Where's his shield?
Wow.
His shield is
the shield that they all came with.
It's in my other pants. Sorry, I left it at home.
I have a Venom comic over there. I could pull it out later. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about the movie in and of itself, and a lot of people, when they would talk about it, they did discount. I mean, the legitimate spoiler is really the mid-credit scene, and I think that it's not shocking because there started to be the expectation that this is something that might happen. I did not have it spoiled for me. I knew that there was something there. I did figure, okay, it's going to somehow tie into, the upcoming Spider-Man No Way Home. I just figured it would, and it's not like the fact that there was an end credit scene or mid credit scene. It's not like that revelation made me think that. It's sort of logical. The fact that they really strong armed this movie in to October because they needed it to come out first wasn't really a shock. So, Eric, since you were the one who was a little tardy to the party, you haven't had a chance to go first on anything yet. So let's have you tell me your thoughts as the mid-credit scene happened and as you've had time to digest it, as our friend Venom would.
Well, I mean, we know they've been trying to set up Sinister Six forever, and so it feels like, all right. Well, this feels. Wait. Oh no, frozen. No, I thought you were frozen.
No,
You're
we can still see you.
You're very
We can
still.
hear you and see you.
You're very still.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, keep talking. We can still hear you and see you.
You can see me and hear me. That's all anyone needs to do. And don't listen, just hear.
See me. Feel
me. We will do our entire rendition of Tommy at the end of our
not just the song, the entire rock opera.
Yeah, the overture.
So
I mean, I'll do
tuned.
it all. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's fine.
Oh,
Uncle Ernie is gonna be. I'm all over that.
Yeah, I bet you are.
I think. I mean, I don't know. It's like he seems like such a nice guy, and all of a sudden he sees Spider-Man, and he goes, "Wait, tasty." So it's like, wait, so you're nice and you're not evil, but now you see Spider-Man, and that's like your trigger to all of a sudden become evil. Like that felt a little odd. And of all the ways to bring those worlds together, though, I mean, it was exciting and it popped, and the audience got happy. But of all the watching it on a fucking TV, really?
That was interesting, and you just wonder when that was filmed. Was it filmed in COVID? Right. And then obviously you weren't getting Tom Holland in your movie, so it had to be something that was already filmed. You got J.K. Simmons without having to have him film anything new. Mm-hmm. But Jeff, just overall thoughts on it, because you were not blown away by the mid-credit scene.
No, because I just used stock footage the whole time. Like you said, Venom was like, I'm gonna show you something cool because I'm old and I'm from a long time. And then jokes on all of us, we're gonna see some kind of blip, and we don't really know if it's a multiverse. They kind of teased it, they kind of didn't. We don't know who messed up the multiverse at this time. Is it Wanda? Yeah. Is it Doctor Strange? What's going on?
And probably, by the way, probably Mephisto. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, probably Mephisto. You're right. Like, who knows? Who really knows? And the fact that they just threw it in there, and he watched it on TV.
Yeah, I thought that was the thing.
It was such a waste of
the big end credits moment is to sit there and watch the end credits from Spider-Man No Way Home. Or no, No Way Home. Far From Home. Yeah. But it was literally the same big reveal from the end of that movie.
It was so bad.
As I mentioned, and I'm giving her credit for this theory because I did speak with our friend Roxy Stryer afterwards. And, when he was about to show Eddie something, he was going to show him a little bit of the knowledge that he had before and the hive mentality. So there's the moment where he, as Eric points out, Venom does very creepily lick the Peter Parker on the television screen. So there is a possibility that because we're now dealing with a multiverse, as we know, for Spider-Man No Way Home, and there is the fact that he does have this hive mentality. So what might be the case is that the Venom that we saw in Spider-Man 3, the Topher Grace Venom, is something that does exist on Venom's planet, and they are part of the same hive. So yes, Tom Holland is not Tobey Maguire, but it might have seemed familiar to him in some way. that could be kind of an interesting way. But I also don't think that they need to make Spider-Man 3 canon. You could stop with the Doc Ock Spider-Man. You give us the first two, and honestly, you can give us the first two and you can give us both Andrew Garfields. But you just go ahead and leave Spider-Man 3 out of it if you really need to. But it did get me thinking about the idea of, even if that's not exactly what it is, has Venom or someone in his species that he's part of the hive mentality, have they met a Peter Parker, even if it's just if it's not the Tobey Maguire Peter Parker, just a Peter Parker somewhere in a different Earth, somewhere, one of the Into the Spider-Verse ones, maybe an actual animated one. So it's exciting in that way, because does he recognize him, or is he just a fucking creeper? Oh, my apologies. Sorry, I couldn't stop myself. So we'll leave that up for a moment.
You're gonna get us banned in the USA.
Son of a gun.
And then there is clearly, whatever causes it, this is some form of multiversal moment. Not quite sure, that it's a much nicer hotel room in the MCU. I guess that probably makes sense. I really wanted to see more of the telenovela that they were watching. I expected to get more of that, in all honesty. Jeff, that seemed like a show that you would have inexplicably been doing an after show for AfterBuzz.
Exactly. I mean, my telenovelas, like, we go deep.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Jeff, we want you to do Flash, a telenovela, and High School Musical, the series. Great, I'm in.
It's like, bet. Call that a Saturday. Like, I love that. I live for that. No,
Bésame mucho.
The whole scene was weird to me. Like,
yeah,
but like,
back to a long time.
It really was, and for nothing. But like, to go back to Eric's point, I felt like a lot of it was shot during COVID, because there was a lot of just not a lot of people in the scenes, not a lot going. It felt small world-ish.
Yeah,
and I was like,
that's true.
All right, are we like, is this some COVID shooting type? Because if like in the same world as WandaVision, you kind of tell, even the last episode, it was shot on a lot. Like, it was not even real neighborhoods or whatever. So it just didn't it didn't hit. And then for everybody to be so hype about that last scene, I'm like, we didn't watch anything new. We didn't.
No, but
do you
the idea that because prior to this, the feeling was like, Kevin Feige ain't never letting Venom do anything. Sony wants to keep hands on. So the idea that they will interact, presumably in, if not No Way Home, then in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Do you think he's in No Way Home?
I think he is very likely in it, but probably not much. And if he's not in it, then he's definitely in Multiverse of Madness. I think to be able, because Venom can just pop into it, because Spider-Man's going to be in that movie. As at least I have that feeling, that it's going to be a continuation.
I was like, you knew this? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I've seen it already, obviously. Cool. Wait, you didn't get to go to that press screening either? The movie that isn't done filming? I don't know, Jeff. Are you in show business or not? No, but that's just my feeling.
A lot of shaming here. Venom's turned Christian. I don't think it's not the same Christian.
No, it definitely. The
symbiote Christian's kind of mean.
Yeah, you know what? And there's no part of that that's wrong, by the way. But I don't know. I think that the idea that you'll get to see him interact with Spider-Man, because that was my big complaint with the first Venom, is that the story just felt empty, because he's supposed to be part of the Spider-Man story. Spider-Man gets the black costume, and then he realizes what it's doing to him. And Reed Richards is supposed to have taken care of everything, and then the thing breaks out, and he turns into Venom, and it becomes very interesting from there. But to skip that part was, it definitely took away from it. But he also, I think, if the Venom character is able to be crazier because it doesn't grow out of Spider-Man. So I don't know, but go ahead, Jeff.
I was gonna say that, like, they just came out, and like in one of the interviews, there's a high up in DC or in not DC, and Sony saying that they want to do Sinister Six as their end game, but yet we're gonna see this in the next Spider-Man film just doesn't add up, and like it just shows that Sony and Marvel are really on the same wavelengths to an extent because they're introducing Morbius, like who's gonna be their Sinister Six? Is it gonna be like
Well, if you were, do you remember the Morbius trailer that I think we literally got 2 years ago?
with Michael Keaton? So,
Michael Keaton's in it, yeah.
but is Michael
Right.
Keaton not in this next Spider-Man? Like, because
No, he
that would be
probably isn't. I don't think we're getting the Sinister Six in the next Spider-Man. I think that'll be that the Sinister Six is a standalone movie that will happen. I think that you will get further seeds planted in the Spider-Man movie. You'll see something in Morbius. I would assume that Venom is part of the Sinister Six, but I guess we'll have to see. But I don't think we're going to get the traditional characters of the Sinister Six. But I mean, we have gotten, I think, all of them in some iteration. Like does Thomas Hayden Church want to reprise his role as Sandman? Probably not. I
don't know. I mean, what else is he doing?
I mean, didn't we see Sandman in the trailer though?
Yeah, no, it's true. But the real surprise would be if we ever got Paul Giamatti as Rhino again.
Ooh, hard pass.
Yeah, that was. I watched that scene again recently, and
did you lose a bet?
I don't know what it might have been with one of my kids. I lost a bet, honestly.
Oh, that's fair.
And it was worse than I remembered, and I remembered it being awful.
Yeah,
and I mean, Paul Giamatti to me, I saw him on Broadway before he even was Pigvot, in Howard Stern movie. So I've been a fan of his for like ever, and it's genuinely like you feel bad for him because nothing in his acting is anywhere like this. So clearly, the director's like, no, trust me, it's gonna work. No, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
You're gonna be in a big metal rhino. You're gonna be awesome. Like people fucking love you. I'm sorry, I did it again.
Well, so my only thing, I'm just like so confused. I'm not confused by that scene. It's so crazy to me that scene is also regarded as such a Spider-Man integral scene because people go back like this is what Spider-Man looks like as in the person. Remember in the scene where Spider-Man is not gone but whatever, there's a little kid that like steps in the way of saying I'm the new Spider-Man, and then he's like, no, I got this.
Child.
Like it's like I'll take it from here. Like people actually like that scene. That's the most like the comics or something when they pick out scenes. I've seen that on Twitter. But it's funny that like on the total opposite end, Paul Giamatti just ruins the scene. But it's just like you it depends on what you take out of it. But I 100% taken out both.
Yeah. Well, so Jeff, what do you think that the end credit scene means? Do you think it impacts directly Spider-Man No Way Home? Is it more setting up Venom 3, Sinister Six, all of the above? What do you think it means to you?
I unfortunately think it means they're gonna do a DC and do a Spider-Man versus Venom, because I think they're gonna make it just a co film. They're not gonna make it Spider-Man 4 because Spider-Man's gonna go into college. They might just have him do a Spider-Man versus Venom and then have that lead into the Sinister Six as Venom loses or whatever. That continues Sinister Six, and then Spider-Man can go up to college or whatever. But I don't see it being a Venom movie, and I don't see how it fits into his college story.
Well, it would be appropriate for a Spider-Man versus Venom movie because obviously Peter's real mother and Venom's mother were both named Martha. So I think that it's most likely going to be the course of what we get.
Not again.
I think every
her name?
Every superhero's mother name.
You had a mom named Martha. I was going to stab this in your heart, but now you're boring.
I was this close. Missed it by that much. Eric, what do you think it all means? And you've got company over there. What do you think that the do you want to share with us what do you think that end credits mid credit scene means, or do you need to
you mean in terms of what's next?
Yeah, like where do you think it goes from there? It can also be where you hope it goes versus where you're afraid it might go. Whatever your thoughts are on that
Yeah.
scene.
Well, I mean, honestly, like that next Spider-Man feels like it's going to be like a buffet of Spider-Man. Just a bit of this, a touch of that, some corn on the cob, and you're all set. So, I mean, I don't think it'd be crazy to see Venom show up, but I wonder if it's just going to be Venom again at the end in another hotel, watching a scene from another Spider-Man movie. So all they'll do is just Venom in a hotel until he finally gets out of the hotel room.
He'll be watching the Japanese Spider-Man series from like 1978. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see him show up in Spider-Man because it just seems, and it's also a worry I have about that new Spider-Man is I like the trailer, but it feels like, I mean, remember, Spider-Man 3, what was the lesson we all learned? Like, don't put too many, chefs in the kitchen. And
no, and it was a problem with Amazing Spider-Man 2 is that they spent so much time setting up a Sinister Six movie that so far they haven't gotten a chance to make yet.
Yes.
In any case, I think that we'll see where it all goes. Look, we won't have another Venom movie for at least a little while. So we'll be able to debate that one for at least a couple of years as to whether or not Jeff needs to see it. And then the real test, I think, is going to be Morbius. Jeff is definitely not spending $22 on that.
Nope.
No, we're going to start a Kickstarter campaign for you, Jeff.
Exactly.
It's literally going to be maxed out at $22.
I was gonna say it might take from here to when I get till it comes out. It might be pennies, not like pennies coming in.
Yeah.
Just because they don't want me to see this either.
Well, look, it's for our YouTube audience. It's right there. Venmo at Count Eric Connor, and he'll then forward it to Jeff. Everybody wins. Well, I'm glad we had a chance to talk about this movie. I believe that we may have another episode talking about it with some other friends that were unfortunately unable to join us tonight, but we'll see. Is this a movie that deserves to be talked about twice? I don't know, but don't worry, I won't make you guys talk about it again. You've already done your time.
We're the warm-up act?
Well, no, just people who were supposed to be here tonight, today, tomorrow, whatever. And it's fine, but this is you guys made it to the end of the day in the jury room without getting selected to the jury, so you will not need to serve when we are still trying to impanel our Venom jury.
That's good, because I told them I didn't like it. I told them I didn't like it, and they said you can't be a juror. You're already biased. And I was like, you're right.
You're right. Send me home. But Jeff, if people want to talk to you about Venom and dragons and which one you like less, how do they do that?
It's crazy because I'm so hyped for Game of Thrones and House of Dragons. But in superhero dragons, I'm not about it. We'll talk about it at Jeff Will Jr. on all your social media platforms.
And Eric, where do people keep in touch with you?
Well, I realize I don't think my Venmo is actually Count Eric Connor, but I'm also not looking. I'm not looking for your money. I'm looking for your love. And you can love me over on Twitter, and you can love me a long time on Instagram at Count Eric Connor. I'm not on TikTok because I am old and beardy, so it gets creepy when
they love you
on TikTok. It's like chat roulette when someone looks like me. Fucking leave. Turn off your computer.
Is chat roulette still out there, by the way?
That's how I met Jeff.
Yeah. I was going to say OnlyFans try to take it out, but no. we still make it.
All right. Well, thank you both for talking to me about a movie that you didn't particularly enjoy. I do appreciate that. And of course, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. Subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel, BLADTCAST. And don't forget to tune in every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern for Marvel Movie Talk, where we talk Marvel and sometimes movies. And we do have coming up in the very near future our delayed conversation with Chris Claremont of X-Men fame that was unable to happen pre-New York Comic Con. So please stay tuned. Just follow me, and I'll make sure you'll find out about it. But that's all the time we have for now. We will see you next time on Marvel Movie Talk on the Black Cast YouTube network. And as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!